Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July. The weather was great and everyone had a good time. Okay, our roll call tonight. John Daniel is not present. He might be walking in here in a few minutes. So everybody's here. Approval of the agenda. Any deletions or additions?
The investment report, the statements were not received in time to get a, well, I just got them today. So it's not included.
Okay, any other comments on the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our agenda is approved. No presentations tonight, and now it's time for public comment. Paula?
Tonight, okay. This is very short and sweet, okay? To Salem Township Supervisor Gary Whitaker from Salem Concerned Citizens. On Thursday, June the 12th, you received a packet of photos and written documentation on the conditions of the property located in the southwest corner of the township at 5180 Voorhees Road. We thank you for your prompt attention to our concerns and urge you to continue to monitor the situation. So far, there has been no attempt by the property owner to comply with your directives. If anything, he is causing additional aggravation to his nearest neighbor by dozing pathways that infringe on Mr. Nietzsche's property. Again, we thank you for your efforts on our behalf, but please continue to monitor the situation and take appropriate action if necessary, and respectfully concerned neighbors. And I have a list of all the neighbors that I've talked to and agree with what you're doing.
Thanks, Paula.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Melinda Marion. This is my second address to the Board of Trustees. I was here last month concerning the commercial business operating at 9130 Brookville Road, Salem Township. There has been no progress by the township to address this matter on behalf of the Salem residents, but rather continued attempts to accommodate the Fenton Days landscaping business. So today, I request that the zoning administrator and planning commission take over the review of this matter. To date, it has been solely handled by the supervisor, Mr. Whitaker. I ask that Mr. Whitaker remove himself from this matter due to his connection with Three Cedars Landscaping, as he has voiced his support of allowing landscaping businesses in Salem Township and expressed to me his reluctance to enforce on them. And 3, that the outside consultant supporting the supervisor be removed from this matter, as his interests are tied to his fee. It gives me great concern when the township expresses to the state of Michigan DEQ that buildings are going to be put up on the site before violations are addressed and a public review of the matter is conducted. It seems that the township has no intention to support the residents, but instead wishes to support a non-resident violating our township. I emailed a packet to each of you with the complaint from 2012, and I ask that you continue to look at it. So there was a complaint in 2012 that was not addressed, and all the neighbors are supporting our new complaints, which I provided you with last month. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're on down to the consent agenda. Mr. Whitson.
I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of the June 10th, 2014 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. The disbursements for June 2014 include the general fund, and that's the check roster of a total of $85,647.73, and that includes check numbers 24,741 through 24,789. It also includes disbursements in the escrow fund of $1,773, checks 1557 and 1558. We had a payroll of the last month of $43,547.15. We paid Paycor, the payroll company, to do this for us for $182.50. The sewer fund, we also dispersed $8,983.87. 3 checks, 1923 through 1925. Invoices for July of 2014 will include the general fund of $46,000 at $112.31. Out of the sewer fund, $4,504, and out of the escrow fund, $780. And that is the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dale Conver seconds. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed. Okay, on the proposed of the going out for bid on the new tanker truck, I move that Salem Township approve the RFP for the purchase of a new tanker pumper fire truck.
Support.
Mr. Rockwell, would you like to make a comment on this?
Yes, thank you, Township Supervisor. We had a number of discussions and had a number of people look at the proposed, what we call tanker slash pumper. It would give us about 2,500 gallons of water, and it would give us a 1,500 gallon per pump capacity. It would be a replacement of a vehicle that's right now 27 years old. Something that's lived well past its life. Obviously, with no hydrants in our township, we need water. And so this truck would provide that. It would be a new truck. It's had a lot of reviews, had a lot of discussion. I think it's a good compromise amongst everybody. I do have the specs. I just got them yesterday. It's about 98% complete. There's some minor editorial things that need to be done that I would run through the smaller fire department board before we send it out, but it would be a request for proposal. We would believe that the truck would come under $400,000 for the bids, but that's a bid. And we have an advantage because we could do our financing, which fire trucks and fire manufacturers would give discounts with us doing capital outlay as opposed to finance. We met with firefighters. There were some voiced concerns. I think we addressed most all of those concerns. We did make some significant changes based on their input. So it's been a long process. It will continue to be a long process. Even after the bids go out and receive returns from them, we would not expect to see a truck for about a year, a little less than a year. So whatever we approve to go out for bid, once that's approved to purchase that vehicle, we would not see that for a whole year. So it takes that long to build it. All the board members and online, there is a draft spec with a blueprint or a drawing of the truck. We're still open for comments and I'm still listening. We are looking from the aspect that this would be a truck that we keep for at least 20 years. And that's based on the history of the trucks that we have right now. We looked at buying used trucks, we looked at buying things off the line. All of those considerations were given. This would not commit the township to purchase anything. This would strictly go out to manufacturers and say, what would it cost us to build this truck? Please give us a proposal. And then I would suggest the board then form a sub-board to review the proposals and see if they want to go forward with it, and in fact, if they want to go forward, which would be the best proposals. Just like when you purchase a car, when you got a Ford, a Chrysler, or a GM, there can be some trade-offs. And the proposal, when it comes back, will be with exceptions, or this is how we want to do it with our manufacturer. I would suggest that sub-boards meet and say this is the best proposal, or this is not what we want for the township, and we go back to the drawing board and modify what we're looking at. But if we approve this tonight, this would not be a committal from the township in any way, shape, or form of spending any dollars. Is there any questions that the board members may have about this?
Yeah, can you just tell me a few of the changes that were, like, the major changes that were made since your meeting with the firefighters?
So the major changes was the combination of the engine and the body style was not recommended based upon some of the firefighters' personal experiences with that type of vehicle. Basically, he said that make and model is going to be high maintenance. We're going to be in the shop more than it's going to be running. So based upon that input, we changed to a Cummins engine, and I believe it was a Freightliner body, and away from the one that has a history of trouble. So that was one of the inputs that we've gotten from our internal firefighters, and that was a significant change. We also went down a little bit in the horsepower. Again, we felt that they're governed at 65. There's a lot of new safety changes that would come with this truck that currently don't exist with our trucks that we have now. So it would be a major upgrade as far as safety as well. Does that help answer your question?
Any other questions? Okay, we have a second on this. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Mr. Trent.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the purchase of a new command vehicle for the fire department and authorize Supervisor Whitaker and Fire Chief Rockwell to complete the acquisition after review of bids from the State of Michigan Vehicle Purchase Program. Total cost for the purchase not to exceed $45,000, which includes transferring and/or replacing emergency equipment and lettering for the vehicle. Funding for the vehicle purchase would be from Cost Center 980, line item 820.003, capital improvements, fire department.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a little comment on this, Jim?
Thank you. Because we're a township and a governmental entity, we are able to tap into the state of Michigan's purchase power, and they have a state contract for vehicles, which is a significant savings that we could not purchase at our level or as an individual. So as an example, this vehicle that we looked at, if we were to buy it, if we just went to the dealership, it's a Yukon, 2015, if we were to purchase it outright as a citizen, you'd pay well over $53,000 for it. We would be able to get it under the state contract because they buy so many vehicles through MDOT and state police and all those vehicles. We would get it around $39,000. And that would be with pretty much extra things that we'd like from the fire department side, which is an in-block heater, things, off-road package, heavy duty towing, 4x4. This vehicle that we spec'd out would have the capability, if we had an injury, say out in the trails, that we could go off-road, put the patient in the vehicle and bring it out to the road where we could transfer to medical services. This would replace, we would get rid of utility 9.6. We would save money by transferring things such as the lighting system on there. We would replace, we would pull off the radios, we would put these all in the new vehicle. There would be a fee to transfer the electrical parts, but we would not be purchasing new light bars to replace that vehicle. And then my thought is to sell that vehicle. It's 9 years old. We've gotten to the point where we've spent so much money into it, we're not getting our value back for what we're spending on it, trying to maintain it. And it has been critical in a number of fire runs and medicals and well needed in the township. So the goal would be to, again, replace utility 9.6, transfer all the equipment that's on there, and then some. And this would give us added capability, so if we needed to transfer a patient off-road, that we could take this vehicle there, put the patient in there. It would also give us additional space. And more importantly, what we use this a lot for is when we have car accidents, say in the middle of winter time, or someone has a house fire, and we need to put folks out of the weather, they could sit in here comfortably, be out of the weather, waiting for loved ones either to come pick them up for the car accidents or waiting for the Red Cross to help them. So This would be an infrastructure capital, improvement for us, and I expect this vehicle to last longer than 9 years. Any questions that the board has on this? The other thing I would add to this is we have to become a member of what's called MI deal or Michigan deal. This, by becoming a member of this, we use the state's buying power. We could purchase this vehicle at significant savings, well over probably 20–30%. But this would also open the door for us to purchase other items like chairs or office stuff at significant discounts, again, using the state buying power. So I think this is, I found out about this through another fire chief, and I think this is a great way for the township to save money, not just here, but in other purchases.
The township already utilizes Michigan MI deal. We bought all our printers and stuff like that.
It's an awesome savings.
Mr. Supervisor, just for the benefit of the rest of the board members, there is another vehicle that could be considered that costs a couple $1,000s less. The information that's in your board package is just to reflect the higher cost, which covers the not to exceed of $45,000, the transferring of equipment and lettering that would need to take place. So the purpose of the motion is to authorize Supervisor Whitaker and Chief Rockwell to oversee those vehicle alternatives and make the best choice that works for the specifications that they're looking for.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. President, just one comment, I know you already voted. Did you look into GMC's warranty regarding converting it to a fire vehicle? We had that question the last time we bought 9.6, and there was some issues with the warranty once you converted it from just a regular consumer vehicle to a fire apparatus, which is what we're doing, putting on lights and siren and so. Has anybody looked at that for GMC? I know we had some issues before in the past.
So to answer Mr. Witkowski's question, there are two vehicles that we're currently looking at. We're looking at the Ford Expedition and the Yukon. Those are the two cars that are currently in the class that we're looking at that's on the state contract. And on the short notice, I was only able to get the sticker information for the Yukon. But that'll be one of the things we explore when we compare the two models. But the purchase, when I talked to the gentleman, because it's a commercial seller that you talk to, he's well familiar with selling to fire departments, but I'll follow up with that question and get the answer.
Just, wasn't the motion,
Yeah, just to go out to,
oh, it didn't specifically say which vehicle?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say just look at that carefully, we had some questions.
okay, Mr. Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the request of Fire Chief Rockwell to add up to 4 additional officers with the rank of lieutenant to the Salem Township Fire Department, and to post the openings for 30 days to accept applications in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Elkheimer seconds.
Mr. Supervisor, the board may recall last year that we had agreed to post a job position for lieutenant for 2 positions. What is included in your board package is a revised job description that includes additional responsibilities for that rank of lieutenant. And as such, and based on the leadership openings that Chief Rockwell would like to implement, we're going to, the recommendation is to hire up to 4 and to repost, so people that applied in the past would be advised that they need to resubmit a new application based on this revised job description. And then once it's officially posted, the original committee that was authorized last year would review those applications and go through the interview process and then come back to the board at a subsequent meeting for recommendation on
questions?
I was just curious, the change from 2 to 4,
Correct.
what your thought process was on that. It's not like I'm objecting to that, I was
No,
just curious.
thank you for
why-
asking. So, as Mr. Trent alluded to, in the new job descriptions, I actually gave specific taskings that we did not have in the original postings. And our goal is to break up some of the tasks that need to be done at the fire department and assign those to lieutenants so that they become ownership. Also, the second goal is to build some teams so that we can create a rank structure so that when I retire or leave, we've got people that have had some management skills that can go up to the lieutenant, the assistant chief, and then the chief. So the ultimate goal is to build our department like most every department in the United States is, where we have a rank structure which the firefighters can attain to build and actually ultimately end up as the chief. The other goal is it specifies in here a minimum number of hours. So that's the reason we need to go back out and post and say, are you still interested in doing this? The old job description did not have any requirement that they had to perform a certain task in order to receive the stipend per month. So I'm asking, splitting the numbers, about $250 a month is what they would get. Splitting half of that would be an expectation they do like vehicle oversight, or they take care of medicals or medical reviews. And then the other aspect is, the other 5 hours would be their command and control out at fire scenes. So this, hopefully with the number of firefighters and lieutenant ratio, that if we have a call out there, I'd have at least one officer in charge out there that would be a recognized officer. This would move away from the team leader concept that's not used anywhere else in the county, but here. They would formally recognize that person as an officer, a person in charge, and put it back in line with what most fire departments have.
Hey, Jim, is this a union position?
It is one specified, there's only 2 positions specified in the union, which allows me to create positions. It's a lieutenant position and assistant chief position. Those are the only 2 that I can do.
And we
Without
lost,
reopening. So we lost Richard Court. Richard Court was our only lieutenant that we had, and Eddie Rohrhoff is our assistant chief. So I really don't have a lot of depth at all in any officers. We've had this team leader concept, and it's not been really recognized as far as pay, and they do extra duties, and I don't think that's fair for them to carry that responsibility and not get recognized both in the rank and then also the pay that goes with it.
Another, just for clarification, is this position, are these positions open to every member of the fire department?
They would be
Right.
in good standing, every member in good standing.
Right.
And virtually, that would be all the firefighters. And then, as Mr. Trent alluded to, I would suggest that we create the sub-panel board with interviews and recommendations, at which time I would expect that to come to the full board for approval.
yes?
I was just curious, whenever you hire somebody for a new position and you're kind of, they're not, having any experience doing this, what are the, mechanics in place? If it's not working out, what recourse do both parties have? Is that just like a big,
So that's
fussy,
covered in the
rules
union
and-
contract right now, but it's not covered. So there is no recourse for stepping aside or stepping down that's defined within the contract. So it's open for discussions and negotiations. It's an area, again, first time we've written our contract. That might be something that we want to consider discussing with the union when the contract negotiations come up for renewal in 2015.
so it might be worth thinking about a probationary type
Absolutely.
stipulation, because, I'm really risk averse, I don't like.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So,
Again, this is our
let's
first.
try it for 6 months,
Right.
and then, okay, we're gonna, see how it's going, then it could become a little more, I don't know, permanent.
The challenge is right now that's not within the CBA, and with the retirements and the aspect that we don't really have a rank structure, this is something that would help the department be stronger by picking up tasks and having ownership to it and making sure things get done, as well as show a career path if you look at our department, our guys never leave. You look at other departments like Ann Arbor Township, we've got a very seasoned, very senior staff. They come on our department, unless they move away, they stay on the department for a very long time, and that's not typical of other communities, which is good for us because they know the township, yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Derek?
Yeah.
Assuming everybody's out, what would be span of control with 4?
So we look under ICS to have a span of control between 4 and 7. Depending on how many firefighters got promoted, it would be around 4 to 5 to 1, which is the ideal for a fire situation. And that's one of the things we're cognizant of. I was doing the calculations. Right now, we're 24 firefighters strong, with 4 lieutenants and 2 chief officers. That would give us, the lieutenants would give a 4 to 1 ratio.
So you'd be right there with industry and everybody else.
With fire departments, industry's a little different. You go a little higher in industry because you're not in a critical operation.
Yeah, and the industry I'm from, span of control recommended 4.
That's where we're shooting for.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, down to the hiring of firefighters. Are we gonna postpone this, or?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, we need to postpone this item, but just as a courtesy update to the board on our status. A week ago yesterday, the Fire Department Hiring Committee met to review applications, and we agreed to interview 3 candidates for a firefighter position. Unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, we were not able to complete that process yesterday as we had tentatively planned. So right now, we're targeting the interviews to take place next week and a date to be determined through facilitation of Fire Chief Rockwell. And we plan to come back to the board next month with recommendations based on those interviews.
Mr. Trent? Okay, moving on down, the clerk expenditure report is listed, no investment reports. Fire department, we've already heard enough from you tonight. Any more?
Can I just real quickly, a run review?
All right.
We had 24 calls from the month of June. Over 70% of those were for medicals. We're a little light this month. We've been running about 30 calls for 30 days, or 31 days, so we had a little light month, but we've been still pretty active. The thing I would remark is that we had that big storm come through, was it about a week ago or 2 weeks ago? And all of our firefighters that responded cut these trees down off the roads. And so you didn't have to wait for the road commission to get our roads back opened up. And they worked really hard, so if you see them, thank them, because it was working through most of the night. And one, it prevents your cars from hitting trees. We've had that happen, curve coming around, there's a tree there. And secondly, it is hard work, so these guys really did bust their tail, cutting the trees down, getting them that done. That being said, on Angle, just south of 7 Mile, they had a really large tree. We couldn't even cut it with the road commission because it was that big of a tree. So they did work their tail off on that storm, and say thank you for that. They did help out there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, there's no board discussion tonight, and we're down to public comment. This might be the fastest meeting. Go ahead.
I just have a couple questions. On 7 Mile Road, they repaved 7 Mile between Napier and Curry. And the road commission, they have just a sporadic yellow lines that pass in the city. Are they planning on painting the rest of it, or is that just gonna be it?
You know, I don't know. We can ask that question. This is where on Napier?
This is on 7 Mile between Napier and Curry.
7 miles.
It's on 7 Mile, they're repaved.
All right, that was done, what, about
You're over a year ago. And the line's still not painted.
The other mile was done here.
Right.
So which one? First one? First one?
All of them.
It's over by your house, Bonnie, isn't it?
All right.
All right, and the second one is, does Salem Township have, or can I look up rules and regulations of discharging of firearms on certain days, hours? is there a rule or an ordinance in Salem Township? There's not, well then I am asking the board to maybe sit down and come up with some kind of a rule, like on Sundays. If people have, barbecues, what have you, and next thing you know, there's guns going off, and the second question is there any kind of regulations in Salem Township for storing, commercial equipment outside in a residential area? If there is, where do I look up, will Salem Township back up that ordinance? If certain people are in violation.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you.
anyone else? Brian?
Mr. Whitaker, or Mr. Supervisor, I just found out some of this information tonight, so if I could just direct towards Mr. Rockwell, it's just a question I had regarding a new policy, or do I just direct it to you and you can handle it? It was just regarding a change in policy as far as the firefighters responding to the station as opposed to directly to the run. And I was just wondering if that was true on all cases for all types of runs, or if that was just specifically for fires and other where you would need a vehicle.
I'm sorry, that's not public because it's still in draft. I'm quite surprised you've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
No.
I just heard that it was a current practice.
It's a draft policy that hasn't been implemented.
So there is no current practice for that.
I think there was a prior one, we're updating it, considering updating.
Okay. I would just be concerned, especially where I live, for a firefighter to come all the way out here and then go all the way back to my neighborhood for a medical, where they might have the ability to help a person in my neighborhood quicker if they went directly there than to come all the way here. So I would just, if that's not the case, then I apologize. And we can move on.
But thank you for the input. I will look at that because it's still in draft and looking for feedback from firefighters.
The only other thing too that I would look at, if you're gonna do that, is we looked at it before, you wouldn't be able to pay the firefighters mileage. That, their station is their place of employment, so that would be considered part of compensation. It wouldn't be mileage. You can't, you
Well, I
have to pay
understand.
taxes on it. Or you could,
You could, why not?
you could, they'd have to pay taxes on it.
Exactly, because you're saving a life in a certain, if this guy's gotta go to the station, get his equipment, go back when he's closer to where the accident is.
You just have to count it as part of their compensation.
So the expectation is if a firefighter comes across the scene where they can help, they're going to stop.
Right.
Right. Or if they're closer to the scene than they are to the station and they have the ability to help.
From private residents.
Correct, I understand that. So that's why it's draft. We're still working through this and trying to get the wordsmithing correct. I think everybody wants to help as quick as we can get there.
Right, and that would be my concern, and also just making sure we don't have another 457 yet.
Okay. Any other public comment tonight? All right, we're adjourned.
Wow.
All
My wife,
right, thanks for coming out. There's plenty of refreshments, stay around and socialize.
around here, so I can't.
Eat up.